Hello and welcome back to my GTNH playthrough. It is December 22nd. We're just kind of floating around. Uh, so the last we were here, I had a couple of problems going on. The first of which was actual power problems in game where I was like catastrophically bleeding EU and nothing was working and everything was failing and I could barely craft anything. And then outside of the game, my computer was having issues, my internet was having issues, blah, 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 blah. Not even to play about those. I did get those fixed, I think. It's the computer I took apart and cleaned everything and put it all back together and ran some big diagnostic tool that took like 5 hours and the memory's all good on it. So knock on wood, but I think I'm safe on that front. And then I got a new router, so it seems to be working pretty good. I had no issues today, so that was real nice. Actually, for in the game itself, last we left off, I was showing that I had made a kind of doofus mistake with the XL turbo turbines where I didn't have enough fluid coming in, and I had fixed it once, and then the computer had the problems, and I had to roll back the server. So I didn't end up playing again that night, but I did. The next day, I got all these fixed up. So this one I kind of sort of fixed on here, where now it's basically it only takes 1638 millibuckets of dense supercritical steam to run, and you get that number from the Excel sheet I showed, which is just off the Discord. Go to the Discord, it's a Google Docs thing, and then you just type in your conditions and it pops you out a number. This one takes the same amount because this is also duranium rotors. This guy has draconium and is running in loose mode. So it's actually not keeping up. It does technically take a little bit more than those two, but that's okay because this one's just basically burning off the excess steam. And it is kind of sort of keeping up. It's still giving a million EU per tick, but I think if this were fully flying, I believe it's just a wee bit higher than that. So, yeah, these are all fixed, and now whenever these are running, we take in about 8, and then when we're fully crafting, and I did a lot of crafting today, this guy will actually hop up to about 10 million. So for the out, this in is always constant, but the out is around 10 million. So actually, I wonder why it's popping up now. Interesting. I'm not crafting anything huge. So I do need to expand this a little bit. I've got a couple ideas. I think I'm going to throw a second one of these specifically down here for this battery, so it's not so stressed. But also our new area that we're going to be expanding westward to, I think I'm going to drop a couple of these just to specifically assist that battery and take some pressure off the main system. But yeah, we'll start showing off those now. But the amount of difference those fluid regulator make, so not only am I not running out of power, like the system's keeping up, I also have 1 billion supercritical steam. I actually ended up crafting my first 4096 fluid storage cell because of just how much of that stuff I was taking in. And it's great because it was good. And I'll have to keep a close eye on it to make sure I don't need to put down more of these guys or expand my distilled water for a little while. So this is all off of helium. Technically, we can even have better ratios once I throw down more of these guys to be able to output more distilled water. That was actually my original plan for the weekend, but I ended up just regulating the XL turbines worked so well, I completely changed course because I was originally going to throw down more of these, more distilled water, and swap to tin plasma. So that kind of got pushed off a little bit because we don't really need it right now, but it will be kind of sort of soon because I assume my power needs will start exponentially going up here. So if we hop out of here, though, I do real quick want to go set mode, copying, edit, transform, reset. All right. So after fixing this, I ended up starting to expand westward over here. So actually did quite a bit over the weekend. The first thing is I started the framework of the new way I'm gonna distribute my power, which is going to be through 64 amp patches, and then once I learn more about lasers, probably swap to those as well, where that main battery down there is just going to output to like one starting battery. And then so like this is a 64 amp UV hatch, and then to each building we have a bunch of 64 amp CPM. This one is only 16 because I forgot to change it up because it's for the ABS building, but since I only have one multi-block in there, it's fine. But this will get swapped for 64 as well. And then over in the towers, they're not hooked up, but it'll be the same thing. I'll have a 64 of whatever tier I'm on for energy hatches to this guy, and then one on the other tower. And then these guys will then distribute through the tier lower up to all the different batteries within the tower to try to make it easier and more streamlined to do power. And then for some reason, like say this tower, because it has a bunch of passives, use more power, I'll throw like an XL turbine down here and just have it assist this battery. But I do want to for sure throw some over here, because the general idea of what this is this is going to be spamming auto crafting machines. So this first one, that's kind of a different shape than all the others, is going to be for the mega ABSs. And then the rest are just kind of as I see problems, I will just basically move them out of the current auto crafting tower, which is the one more to the east, and bring them over here and expand them and make them better. So what's kind of cool, I talked about this before, but I got it all finished now. That's why this is all fenced off. I thought it looked kind of cool cosmetically, but this is basically like the template one, right? So this guy will be, if I want to drop a new building, all I need to do is go mark copy, come down to this lower corner, and then come click on one of these corners I threw up just for simplicity, and then we turn on my chunks. Come over here. Just drop down to the right level. Hit mark paste. And then just right click. Boom. New building on the block. So, pretty happy with how this turned out. Like I said, the only issue I ran in from before that I ended up having to fix was the iron doors. I think specifically because the one is flipped, kind of make it angry. So I just have to put the doors on and stuff like that afterwards. But so that's the general idea of like expanding. The matter manipulator is making that real good. But like I said, so the way I'm going about it and deciding like what order to do what in is what's giving me issues. So the thing that was consistently giving me issues up in the main tower is if I did large crafts, my vacuum freezers had problems. So this vacuum freezer building was the first one I dropped. So I didn't know about these cryogenic freezers until later in the week. And I was like, oh, these things are, because they're basically the freezer version of the volcanuses, and they do more parallelization unless you're doing like really high stuff, and are better than the mega freezers until you get to like some extreme overclocks. So I went with these. Over in the main building, I had 6 freezers, then I had 8 freezers down below the power, and then the mega freezer, and these 12 are faster already. And then I have it set up so that if this becomes like a bottleneck, I'll just keep on expanding. So general idea again. So I have 2 lines going. This orange one is literally just a subnetwork from that first battery over there. So this comes into my ZPM energy hatch, and then this guy has multiple subnetworks going on. So down below, we've got this subnetwork, which is going to be only for bringing power to each group of 4. And then, so that's just that one. And then it will, again, expand as needed. So I've got all the energy hatches down here. Like I said, this yellow one's its own subnetwork. This white, I do paint the main network white for consistently across the things. Also, to get these guys to work, kind of like the volcanists, they need a constant fluid input, which in this case, gelid cryolithium. So I already had the bee bread from last weekend, but I did make the pyrotheum, and this guy have good stats and threw them in the mega apiary, so we are constantly getting that stuff. Like, look at pyrotheum up to 14 million now, so before I was level maintaining at 1 million, so we've got plenty going on down here. Then up top, so each like setup is obviously going to change based on what we got going on. I did decide, just to make my life easier in case I do have power issues, all these guys are now machine controller, and I can turn them off if I want. Like, I just flick that switch. But because the freezer recipes are really just hot ingots, the way I decided to go about it to save on channels from the main network, so obviously the output comes back to the main network. But here we just have an export bus with an OR dictionary card into an interface. And then on here, we just have storage buses facing down into each one. And what's kind of cool with the storage bus method is, so in this case, like this guy's got the highest priority, then second highest, like I can split it out. Because before, when I first set it up, they all had random priorities, and then, it always went to these two first, I think just because they're literally closest. So this guy was, it can run at full speed, but now this makes it so it kind of like spreads the love on the hatch, because I'm not using superconducting wire. So if all of these run at full force, they are taking 16 amps by themselves. They're technically getting like 15.9 amps because of the power loss. So that just spreads the love. And like I said, I crafted a ton of stuff today, and I did not have a single power issue. I did not have a single fail. Obviously, down below, I do have these all having the auto maintenance hatches with, conduit bringing all the required materials to them. But speaking of hatches, another kind of quality of life change I did take care of this weekend was I set up the recipe and crafted my first few auto taping hatches. So these, like this guy is obviously going to be a very important capacitor, so this is actually where I dropped my first one. Also, I don't have the main network over here except for this one input, so instead of wasting a channel, I was like, this guy deserves being my first one. So after the freezer building, basically the order I was deciding to do things on was speed of crafting, and then my goal was to be able to craft 12 Mark IIIs of the same time, which I couldn't the other day. And then everything that popped up that I needed, I would start the autocraft, which actually 1.4 big. I wonder if it's literally just too big, like CPU wise. So I'll have to upgrade my autocrafting to be able to actually start doing that, which is fine. I probably won't craft all 12 at once, but I wanted to be able to work towards that. So I need 14 for nitinol. And one of the main resources I was short on was UU matter. So I did craft 8 recyclers, amplifiers, and mass fabricators. So this building, once I have access to a multi-block, which does need nitinol, I'll add those in here. But for now, just to like speed up the how much UU matter I was making, I did, I threw all these down, and then same sort of principle down below, where we've got osmiridium, osmiridium. I've got 8 rows. Got a sub network down here for the different channels, especially as I increase like the multi blocks out. And then all these are on their own, so they're not running into amperage issues. This building is kind of silly for its size for what I've got going on here, but obviously leaves the room to expand to the multi blocks and improve it as time goes on. The next one I did was because as I was crafting the 4096 fluid cell that I mentioned earlier, I noticed one of my huge bottlenecks was my forming press, because I only had one. Well, now I have 12. Exact same thing going on, minus the cryolithium down below. Though, because these guys said each setup's kind of a little unique, because these setups actually take more than one item, so I can't do like that storage bus means. So instead, I've got actual P2P tunnels. Just these guys are all actual ME interfaces, but these are the P2P versions, so they all share the recipe. Fortunately, they're not as... Oh, I can change the priority. So I actually I will run through and change the priorities so it spreads the love a little bit, but that helps speed that up. You got freezers, forming presses, UU matter. I can't think if I got any. Next up, I've got two major ones I want to do. I want to move my volcanuses down into one of these buildings, because basically everything runs through 4 volcanuses. I want to at least have that up to 12, and then also set up the volcanuses for the other types of recipes besides the main ones, just to speed that up, because that is kind of probably the most obvious bottleneck point. And then over here, I mean, I haven't really decided which buildings are going to be which. The next bottleneck I want to address is the autoclaves, because I just have the one and it is really slow. I think I'm going to do 2 autoclave buildings though, or at least 2 sets of autoclaves, like one set for autocrafting, how to speed that up, as well as one set to passively make the crystal shards, because we do use a lot. And then I think the next building after that would be a building of circuits, and I haven't really decided how I want to go about that, because I have the crystal circuits, but yeah. So that's the general gist of what's going on. If you have any more specific questions, please let me know. For also improving, for future proofing, if we were to look at growth medium, I have 12 million now, and I've got 1 million of the rock. So I did set up a level maintainer, because apparently we use this for the next set of stuff. We can't have it all just turning into a growth medium. So I do have a base part. And if we run out to that desert area real quick, this is like the best part of the quantum suit. Can fly so fast. I did set up a compressor, because basically my limiting factor for the raw growth was biochafe, which I was getting off of bees, basically the resin bee, because it outputs plant balls. But I also set up this compressor to basically take all my sugar cane, which it went through 8 million already, to turn it into plant balls to then run the rest of the process. So that's how we have so much. And then obviously when I need to speed up, I'll throw more plant stuff, or I'll set up more growth things over here just to get more resources going in. I also set up another set of electrolyzers, because I was shorted on running out of hydrogen. My oxygen problem, that's where it goes back and forth between the two. I'm always running out of one or the other. So yeah, we come back over here to do some more cosmetic stuff. Let's see, I'm trying to think of what else I got done. Just kind of casually in the background, although I've been doing all this stuff. I also started getting my tier 7 heavy duty plates for the tier 7 rocket. I obviously still need to make the fuel and whatnot, but we do have the plates, which are usually the slowest part of the craft. It looks like the fuel will be a multi-step chemical plant recipe, so I'll get that done. And then, yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There's a bunch of little stuff this weekend. This will probably be like the biggest gap of random things that don't show off. I'm getting used to there being windows now. But like, say in my passives down below, for those recipes, I needed more sand, for example. So through upgrade things in here, I needed more silicone rings. So same thing. Needed more polybenzene. So same thing as well for here to be able to have way more ingots. Amongst other things, a bunch of all those crafts. And then the final thing I set up today, I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing, so if I think of it, I'll talk about it throughout the week. But the final thing was, it's all polluted right now, because I'm changing the way I do the power. I did disconnect both my air filters down below, so those aren't running right now. So there's pollution running rampant from especially those electrolyzers right there. But anyways, is about the umpteenth time it started to rain on me today. I was like, there's gotta be a solution. So I typed in here weather. And I noticed this weather obelisk. Oh, I didn't even see this. Weather controller. Not. Yeah, I don't know about all this stuff. Maybe I'll check that out later. But that's this weather obelisk, which when you hold shift says it can change the current weather. Liquid sunshine to sun, which is all I need. So to get to said liquid sunshine, we need liquid sunshine. Here it is. You have to run through a vat and you need sunflowers. Everything. There's a 3-step process. The rest of it, like I have a ton of, but sunflowers I didn't have any. So I just have a little sunflower farm, which is basically just a timer, a dispenser with bone meal facing in. You can see every time this clicks, it puts bone meal on the sunflower, and get a sunflower, and then it just drops on the ground. So that's what the vacuum hopper's for. So collecting up sunflowers, which I should have plenty of already. It hasn't been running that long, but yeah, 59. I could obviously, if I needed more for some reason, I could speed that up. But I think literally once that fills up to the 4,000 in a drawer, I'll probably shut it off for years. Then up here, I set up the 3 vats in a row with all the items we need to basically get us to liquid sunshine, which then comes up to the roof, which we have the obelisk. There's a level maintainer down here for some fireworks, because it needs fireworks and liquid sunshine, and then power. So we got all that stuff set up. But basically when this sensor senses rain, it triggers a redstone signal, fires this guy up, and then should in theory stop the rain. I haven't actually seen it in action, and unfortunately it's an hour till the next storm. Now it doesn't want to rain, now that I've got a solution for it. But this little nifty little project to top the day off, and I'm kind of excited and hope it works well, because rain's annoying, and like I said, I don't want to go to the personal dimension. So for now, that'll have to do. But yeah, appreciate anybody for watching, and I will continue working on expanding the autocrafting over here, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.